Hello, welcome to Ace's Ultimate Guide for the Beautiful Roads plugin. I am your host Ace, and I want to welcome you to this wonderful guide that I'm going to be teaching you today. Now today the objective is for you as the viewer to get a better understanding on how to create the roads using the Beautiful Roads plugin. Now it's been a few months since the previous update, so I'm going off of the version 0.4, and this is basically what's going to happen if we ever get the next update. So down below, in case if you're having any struggles with anything specific, there are going to be timestamps indicating on where, on things I'm going to be working on. Now, if you're going to watch the entire video, it's going to be an entire step-by-step process, but if you want to find out something specific, then you can look down there. Now, everything that you're going to see in this video is all things I can think of off the top of my head. But if there's anything more that I missed or that needs to go over, then I'll make a second video based off this ultimate guide. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So first of all, we're going to start things off with a straight section. So what this is just going to be a standard 2-lane road, and it's going to be just one lane going one way, another lane coming the other way. So this is how you basically start off with all roads, at least in my opinion. What you're going to do is that you're going to want to open up your road editor, then create a new node. And then basically what happens is that you have this twin set of nodes right here, right? So then all that you're going to do for this segment is that you just need to push this gray plus icon. It doesn't matter which side, as long as it's the gray plus, because it does both of the nodes. And then what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to move it out just a little bit, just so that the nodes are not tightly crunched, and you can have more road with less node generation. If that makes any sense. All you have to do is just hit render, and then look at that. You have your beautiful straight road. Now for render change and render all, those are basically the same thing, but the only difference is that if you do render change, it's only going to render the things that you just changed, like slight node movements. But if you do render all, it's going to do all of the roads that you generated. So keep that in mind. So now we're going to move on to our second step, and we're going to move to a curve. Now the curve is very straightforward. All you have to do is just move your spawned node and just move it to anywhere that you want it to go. So you spawn in your new node, regardless from any node. It can be from a straight, it can be from another curve, it can be from wherever, but you have to spawn in your next node using the gray plus. And then all I do is just move it, and you can rotate it. I have set to 45 degrees based on previous stuff that I did in Studio. And you're just going to want to move it around. Going to want to move it around. There we go. And look at that. There is your curve. There's your curve, and that's pretty much how you do a curve. It's very straightforward, but based on my previous experience, based on previous games and on here, don't make your curves too tight. If you make them too tight, then it's going to be unreasonable realistically for vehicles. I mean, you can make it however you want, but if you do it from a realistic kind of perspective, make sure that you space out the nodes far enough so that the turn can be very smooth. The plugin is automatically told to do it in a smooth manner based off of the main tutorial on how it was done, but for realistic sake, make sure that your curve is smooth. Make sure that the generated nodes is far enough away. So now we got that covered. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to create basically a conversion between a 2 and a 4-lane road. It's very straightforward. This process this may seem a little bit more complicated, but it's very simple if you do it plenty of times. So all you have to do again is just create a new node, extend it out a little bit. I'm going to get about right here. And then what I normally do is that based on the node, so I click on these two pluses, and it adds a node right there for me. I don't have to duplicate it then drag it over. I literally just have to click the pluses, and then it does that. It adds that node for me on the side that I'm wanting it to add on. And you can do the same thing for 3-lane, 5-lane, so on and so forth. And then I hit render changed or render all, doesn't matter. And then what I do is that I create a new lane. So if you want to create a new lane, you have to make sure that you hit the nodes specifically. Like if you hit slightly off, then it's going to have to restart. But yeah, it's just a mess. So you want to make sure that you hit your first node, make sure it's highlighted yellow, and then you go over to your node that you want to create a lane with. Now keep in mind, whenever there is a node here, like with a road and a road, sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint the lane, so make sure that it's highlighted green before you click it. Otherwise, you're going to have to restart selecting the nodes. It's a little bit of pain in the process sometimes, but it's honestly worth it because it looks really cool. So again, when you're creating a new lane, you have to make sure that you select it, make sure it's highlighted yellow. You go all the way over here, select a new node, and then you hit render, and then you got your wonderful lanes right here. Now this could be the same for like turn lanes and everything like that. This is just straightforward process. And then same thing, if you want to extend that a little bit, make sure you hit the gray plus, and then you just extend that a little bit, and you have your 4-lane road. This is the conversion between the 4-lane and the 2-lane road. Now this part is just going to be just a quick little section, but if you want to remove any lines to make it, make it a little more presentable than this, you have to go to Edit Lines. Then you just have to set all of these lines to invisible. So what I did is that I selected the line, go to Load Preset, I hit Invisible, and it's still there right now. But whenever you hit Render Changed, it will all be gone. Just like that, Render Changed, all lines are gone. Now this, it shows like where the lines currently stand based on the road generation. But if you turn it off, then when you look at it this perspective, it looks completely normal. It looks like how it actually is supposed to be. So that's a quick little side segment on how to do a conversion between a 2 and a 4-lane road. Now I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to do a 3-lane road or a 5-lane road, or basically a road that has a middle turn lane. Now this process is it's honestly really simple, but you do have to work with it sometimes. So make sure that you have your road. I'm creating a new road segment mainly because this is just going to be separate. So make sure you select your road segment. Doesn't matter if it's 2 or 4 or whatever, but it's honestly easier if you create a new one, because then you don't have to space out the nodes in a weird way to add in the lane, which I will go over that segment over here, which is pretty much the same thing if you're doing like a 4 to a 3 and so on and so forth. It's just it takes a little bit more work. So then what I do is that I select my 2 nodes, and it doesn't matter if you do the left plus or the right plus, but I always do a right plus normally because that works for me, and I just do it by default. Then create a new lane, and I just extend it out this way. So now we have our lanes right here. So now what you want to do is that in order to make a middle turn lane based off of real life, at least here in the United States, you have to select your line, and then you have to go down and load presets, and you have to do the suicide line. And what I always do is that I always render it and double check to make sure that it's what I'm wanting. So this is not what I'm wanting. The suicide line has to be flipped. So I go to Edit Lines, I select it, and then I hit this swap button right here, and it should show that the left has the dash and the right has the solid, which in this case it is true. And then you go to the double line, or you can do it flipped, it doesn't matter. Then you go to suicide line, and that should be the right and this should be the left. So let's render it. And again, so that's not the same. So make sure that you always check before you swap it, just like, I mean, in my opinion, it saves a little bit of time, but it could be different for you. So with this, here is your 3-lane road. And then if you want to extend it, all you have to do is just hit this, hit the gray plus button, extend that a little bit, render it, and then boom, it's the same. So here is your 3-lane road. Now this is the same for any odd laned road that has a middle turn lane. As long as you follow this kind of simple process, you don't have to go into the roads and then find like all the lines and all that. So, yeah, that just takes way too long. So you have that. So now I'm gonna go over. I'm go over here to the 2-lane. I'm going to show you the process on what I do on how I convert a 2 into a 3-lane. I just showed you how to do a 2 to 4-lane, which it's literally so easy. But I'm gonna go over here just as a reference point. So what I normally do is that I extend it out as always, and then I add a 3rd lane. And then what I do is that what I try and do is that I just put I try and just line up the center arrow, like this center arrow, to the center of this. the center of the two node conversions. Just about something like that. So that's not perfectly centered, but that's center enough. I extend it out, render it, and then this shows what I have. So based off of what we did previously, you create a new lane, you render it, boom, you got it now. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to extend out the node as so, and then just like previously, we do the same thing. We do the exact same thing. You render it, you go to the suicide line, you swap it, same thing over here. Go over here, suicide line, you swap, render, and then you should be good to go. And then if you want to make it a little bit nicer, obviously, just get rid of the lines. Get rid of all the ugly crossover lines. Just like that. Now the double dash, I'm just going to leave it there for now. In the real world, there really isn't anything that would be something like this unless it was something that was like, unless if it was something like, where is it? No, I want the, well, anyway, really can't do that. But imagine that there was like a double yellow line here and then double yellow line there, and then yeah, that'd be based off of realism, and then it'll be the 3-lane. And then if you're doing like something like a 5 to 4, it's kind of the same process, but normally you just want to go like from smaller to bigger, if that's any possible, like, because that's honestly easier. You can just do 4 to 5, space out the two nodes that are together for the specific direction of traffic, add the node, so on and so forth, and then you just do the same thing. So as long as you follow something that's like what I did, then you can do the 2 to 3 lane conversion. So now here comes the fun part. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to go over here and we're going to create a simple intersection. So what we're going to do now is that, again, create new node, new plugin. So this is just going to be just a standard intersection where it has like 2 lanes going in either direction and then perpendicular either direction. Just like that. All I have to do is just extend it out, just like so. The distance doesn't matter, but as long as it is, if you're doing a traditional 4-way intersection, make sure that it's as close to as center as possible, because that'll give you decoration points. Like literally, like even a map that is under construction, that will give you decoration points, in my opinion. Like if you do it right, it's just so good. So after you create your first node, you're going to want to create your second set of crossover roads. Now the tricky part is that you have to remember. Oh, dadgummit. The tricky part is that you have to remember whenever you rotate it, remember like which way it is, because this direction thing won't update until you hit a plus button. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay. So let me work on some symmetry, make sure that it looks decent. Wow, that looks really good. That looks really good. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to create new lanes, just as is, just from here to here, and this is basically going to be the like the barrier for the intersection. Oh, look at that! Oh my gosh, I am awesome. Oh my word, this is just good. This is just too good. I'm sorry, I just amazed myself sometimes. So after you create your intersection, it's not gonna be as perfect as this, but I just blow myself away. So then what you do is that you just get rid of all the nasty lines, just as is. Oops, I forgot a line. Y'all see nothing. And then you only leave, or at least what I do, is that I only leave just the outer white lines, just to indicate that that's like a barrier, or yeah, it's like the road, you know, it's like the end of the road kind of a thing. And then when you have this, you have your 4-way intersection. Now, normally what you do is that you extend out the size just so you don't have to re-add like any of the edited lines, because if you do this, and then you select a random node and then you extend it out, what's going to happen is that whenever you render it, it's just going to have this. Like you really don't want to do this. So what I always normally do is that I just add extra nodes to each of the answers, so you don't have to re-add anything that's not there. There we go. So now you have your lovely little intersection, and then you can do many different things. So you can do like just a regular stop sign intersection, or you can do like a traffic light intersection. But what I normally do is that if I do like a traffic light, in this case, I normally just add one pole, and I just do something where it's like this, and cross it over to about the middle, extend it over all the way through, maybe back just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it looks something like that, and then I just add just the regular traffic lights. In this case, this will just be a standard light, tunnel visors and everything, standard black light. There we go. Gonna add them all up. And just like so. And here is your standard four-way intersection with just a single pole traffic light. Now obviously you can do like more than one pole, but I do it this kind of a style mainly because it's not as common in my area to see where like there's one pole and there's multiple traffic light heads on one pole, you know. So we got that out of the way. Now we're going to create a six-way, or not a six-way, but it's basically a bigger intersection where you have like more than one lane on each direction. And yeah, it's like a more of a common intersection that you regularly see in a larger area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another node, just as so. And if I can move it down, there we go. And then I'm going to, let's see, so what I'm going to do, I need to, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a 5-lane road. Now, this can work in any situation, but I'm doing a 5-lane road coming in each direction, just so that there is just some sort of reference. Alright, so now we got this. Now I'm going to create another lane, extend that all the way over. There we go. So now we have this. Now I'm going to go, I'll extend this all the way. There we go. Now I'm going to do the same over here. Going to rotate it 90 degrees. Set it down. Add some more lanes as is. Send one back and extend this one. Nope, no. Extend this one forward. There we go. I just messed up already, but it's fine. Send this one back. Render it. Uh-oh. I didn't oopsie. Uh-oh. That's an oopsie. That's an oopsie and a half. Alright, that's fine. That's fine. Because that's what Control-Alt-Delete does. Or no, Control-X. I actually don't know anymore. So now, we have our 5-lane intersection. I'm going to add another node just here, just so that you have this. There we go. So now we have like some sort of reference intersection. So now what you're going to do is that you're going to do the same thing, but only do it for the outer lanes. So I always just do this and this. Come on, this and this. This one here. That one over there, and this one here, and that there. Render it, and then we got something like this. Now it's not perfect, but we will make it perfect, or as close to perfect as possible. Because symmetry gets you bonus points. Symmetry is massive bonus points. There we go. Whoops. That looks pretty dang good. I'm gonna send this out just a little bit more. Nope, that's got grass. It's got grass. Push this one back a little bit. There, maybe. Oops, did not mean to do that. Control Z. There we go. Now we're talking. There we go. That looks a little bit better. So after taking up all that time, you're going to want to do the same thing again. You're just going to want to get rid of all the lines. This is like see, this part right here is the most agonizing one, but it's the one that's the most worth it. Mainly because you have to check to see which ones that have been deleted and which ones have not. Whoops. So you're going to just want to keep selecting lines, set them to invisible, so on and so forth, but make sure that you leave the outer lines. What I used to do, but now what I'm doing now is actually saves a lot of time, but what I used to do is I used to add a line like from there to there, but now I actually don't need to if it's just a solid piece. So basically you just learn as you go. Oh, I have 3 more lines I need to delete. So you do this, and yeah, you just keep working on it. Just keep working on it, and then whenever all you're done, you have this wonderful masterpiece here. Now, same thing again, but you're just going to want to just build either your massive stop sign intersection or your stoplight intersection. Now, in this case, I'm not going to edit the outer roads to make like the turn lane that needs to be, but in a little bit, I will go over on how to do a massive lane road out of just a few node segments, which will save you a ton of time, and it's a really cool trick that I figured out while just messing around. So you have your intersection, and then normally what I do is I just add just a standard traffic light. So either you use your 22 Pilots plugin, or you find one off the toolbox, or you just create your own based off of the coding video that I sent out the other day. You can just have at it. So what I normally do here is that so there's the 2-lane road with a center turn lane in the middle. All I do is that I just add poles. I put it in about the center of the curve approximately. Send out just a little bit. I want to make sure that the pole, or like the end of the pole, is basically technically over this lane right here. So that the traffic light that's indicated for the left turn lane can just be over the lane and not like scrunch over to the right, kind of a thing. And then all you have to do is just rotate it, so on and so forth, and then lo and behold, you have your intersection. Now, I'm not going to do the traffic lights itself, but if you were to do something like this, then you would add either your own left turn doghouse, T traffic light, inverted T, so on and so forth, the flashing yellow arrows, so on and so forth. And that is how you do a pretty dang good 4-way intersection. So now we're going to go on over here to this wonderful empty space, and this is going to be like a little tip and trick for you. So if you want to create like a massive 1-lane road, and you don't want to go through with all of the hassle of rotating nodes and doing a bunch of all this crazy stuff, I'm going to show you a really simple way that will save you a ton of time. Now keep in mind, if you want to do like an oncoming multi-lane road, then you have to redo this step, or redo this process, but it's really simple. So all you have to do is extend out the nodes however you want to do. I'm just doing a standard 4-lane road, as is. You render it, and then you have this monstrosity, right? But all you have to do is that you just need to set the middle to dashed white and the outer to a solid yellow, or to whatever you want it to be, and then you have this massive 4-lane road just right there, ready to go. And this process is really simple. Like even though that these two nodes are set in the opposite direction, it still works, and it's still connected, and you can have all traffic go in this direction. You can have like a massive 8-lane road intersection, and this would still fit in the marbles, or it's still not marbles, but it still fit in the section where you have what you're trying to go for. So that's just a really simple standard trick that I figured out on my own when I was just toying around with making a city, and it's just really simple, and it'll save you a ton of time. This trick will save you a ton of time. But keep in mind, if you want to do something like this, where you have a 2 and 2, then yeah, you have to do this kind of process. But if you want to have a massive 4-lane interstate, or 8-lane interstate, and then you can do this process, and it'll save you a ton of time. So now we're going to go over the process on how I create a bridge, or something that resembles a bridge. So what I do is I come over here, and then create a, so you just create a new node as always. Rotate it if necessary. You have to make sure that you rotate it on the correct axis, not on the wrong axis. Otherwise, it's going to be completely messed up, and you're just not going to want to deal with it anymore. And then, what I always do is that I create 5 nodes. Dadgum, I did it again. So I create 5 nodes. Okay? So, this node is the bottom. This is the middle between the bottom up and the top. This is the top. This is the middle of the bottom, and this is the bottom. So I'm just going to go extend this node over here. Leave the end node over there. And I'm going to just put this about in the middle. That looks pretty dang good, not gonna lie. So then what you're going to do is that you can just set your node. If I can select it, come on, there we go. Set it up to where you want it to go, and do about right there. And then the tricky part of this is that you're going to want to find about the middle ground. Find the middle ground, and then you're going to want to rotate the piece. I always do it about somewhere between 5 and 10 degrees, just so that the degree of curve is a lot smoother for heavier vehicles, realistically speaking. So I'm going to rotate that about 20 degrees, and we're just going to see what it looks like. I'm going to render it, and then there we go. Now keep in mind that this bridge is a little sharp, but this delivers the same idea. But normally what you want to do is just make sure that it's spaced out, and make sure that it's not as high, make sure that it's lower, and so on and so forth. And that's pretty much the process on how to make this kind of arch bridge. Now for any bridge, it's more of a little complicated. It's a little bit more of a complicated process, which I'm going to go over that right now. So let's say that you are making your city, and you've created your interstate or highway or whatever you want to make it, and you're wanting to make what's it called? An interchange. An interchange where like it's a massive bridge and got two highways going over one another. And you're going to want to create like one of those ramps where you go up and over and then back down onto the other highway. Well, I'm going to go over that basic process with you. Now it's a little bit more difficult to master because you have to like rotate it and set it correctly just so that you can just make it fit, you know, and have like a smooth transition and not have like just a sharp, jagged, rough curve. So create your new node as always, or add on. So if you have a node that is already extended and you have your interstate and you want to create a separate create a separate off ramp. Well, first of all, you're going to make sure that you extend an extra lane just so you can have the off ramp. So out of sake of that's what we're going to do. So instead of hitting the gray plus, you hit one of these green pluses. Now with these two nodes, the pluses don't make a difference, but if it's a bigger lane, such as this, the pluses change. So you're going to want to keep that in mind, because the upper plus, or in the case it'll be this one right here, it's gonna indicate like both nodes going in that one direction, but the lower plus indicates just that single node. So in this case, it doesn't matter. Only send it over, reach it out, render change, boom, we got it. Create another lane or another node, boom, this like the off-ramp transition. And now here comes the fun part, creating the ramp. So what I always do is that I always just rotate it to the right just a little bit. This will be about 20 degrees to the right. Send that over, render it, and then boom. So now we're in the process of the up and over kind of an aspect. So now you create your node, extend a little bit. I'm going to rotate it about 10 degrees, move it up a little bit, and then render it, and then here comes the process of the ramp. And then I'm going to create another node, and then I'm going to start doing like a turn. So this will be about 20 degrees. I'm going to render it. Okay, that's a little bit scrunched up. So now I'm just going to render it over and then extend that over, and then boom, now we got it. So now this process is starting to make a little bit more sense, right? But sometimes, or I guess I should say, in almost every single interchange ramp, there's always a slight bend to the curve. So let's say that you have this and you're starting to get into the turning process. So you're going to extend it out as always, and then you're going to want to rotate it on the blue axis just slightly, and then on the green, on the green axis just slightly a little bit, and then you start to get like a little banked curve. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this a little bit. There we go. Now we got a little banked curve. This is a little sharp for most scenarios, but for tutorial sake, this is a great example. You're going to want to render it out some more, rotate it about another 5 or 10 degrees as is, push it out a little bit, raise up a little bit, render it, and then boom, something like this. Now if you want to add like a little bit more realism, like what you can do is that you can rotate the model just slightly so that it's a little bit more of a banked curve. So now you got your banked curve, and you're just going to continue on and on and on in a circular pattern to the left or to the right, wherever you want to go, and make sure that you connect up to the interstate or the highway or wherever. But let's say that now we have reached our end, and we're going to want to flatten it out. Now this is kind of the tricky part, because so many things can go wrong. What you can do, which this is like the most cheesiest way, but it's not always going to be a guarantee it's going to be super smooth. What you can do is that you can just hit a new lane, hit this node, and hit the node that you want to go in, and then you just flatten it out. But that's kind of like a cheaty way. It's not going to be as smooth or flush. So what you're going to want to do, at least the way that I do it, is that you have to toy around with it a little bit. So our curve is banked a little bit. I'm going to do this more of a, so I'm adding this node right here, just so it's a little bit more difficult for me to flatten out. So now we have this, and you're going to want to flatten it out. So like I said, all you do is just toy with it. Make sure that you have your rotate degrees basically set to wherever you want it to go, because if you don't, it's going to mess you up. It's going to throw you out of the way. So you have this, you're going to want to rotate it, and then since the bank is really sharp, I just did that. Whoops, well here, let me do this. Control Z it. Move this node back a little bit. Create a new node. Yeah, you also have to make sure that you create a new node, otherwise it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty at all. Yeah, you have to make sure that you flatten it out. Do this over here, extend it, and then boom, it should look something like this. This is not perfect, but the curve needs to flatten out, and then it'll look a lot nicer. Now what I did was it wasn't a very good example of readjusting, because if you get really into it, then your rotating degrees are going to be off so much that you'd be like, wait a minute, like where is the center? And if you're trying to make a smooth road out of a node that is already in place, like something like this, like if you want to make this a little bit more nicer, you're gonna have to rotate it. But like if it's at an angle, you are gonna have, or like it's like, so if it was an angle like this or something like that, then you're gonna have to basically just work with it. I haven't found an easy way yet to master this kind of a problem, but if something like this and you're just trying to flatten it out a little bit, you're gonna have to rotate this and do this and this and just make it work, Obviously that's like a bad example, but in a more realistic sense, then you would do that kind of thing. So I believe this is the entire ultimate guide for the video. Yes. So this is pretty much everything that I went over. That was off the top of my head. I went over how to start your road, how to do a curve, how to do a conversion between a 2 and a 4 lane road, how to do a conversion from a 2 to a 3 lane road, which this is a very important key in some aspects, how to do a 3 lane road, how to do a 4 lane road where the nodes are in opposite directions, how to do a two-lane intersection, and how to do a multi-lane intersection. Furthermore, I believe that is it for this Ultimate Guide video. Now, if I missed anything more, make sure you leave it down in the comments below, and I will do a second episode to the Ultimate Guide. But I believe this should cover everything, or at least the heavy basics, for this wonderful Roads plugin. Now, hopefully, the plugin will get an update soon, and there can be a lot more wonderful things, and I can share that with y'all. But, other than that, I hope y'all did enjoy. Please leave a like, subscribe down below. You're not obligated to do so. Other than that, I'm signing off, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye!